Shalom. Let's talk about Seth, whose name is SHaT. SHaTaYaH means to set, place, fix, like fix the language and set the characters in place. You feel what I'm saying? So let's talk about it. The sealed book of Ephraim says, and when he was still a young man, ABaRaYaH showed himself to SHaTaYaH, Seth, and commissioned him. And Seth gladly accepted his call to preach repentance among his brethren. It was therefore at the age of 69 that SHaTaYaH, Seth, was ordained to the priesthood by his father Adam, who is Adam. When it was then proposed to establish among his descendants the order of this priesthood of the ABaRaYaH, the son of ABaRaYaH, having for basis of all directives which were revealed from Shamayah heaven, and ABaRaYaH, the sons of men, knowing that this was the standard proposed by ABaRaYaH from the beginning, that the presidency of high priesthood should be handed down from father to son, to Abba to Bana, ABaYaH to ABaRaYaH, or to a righteous descendant of the promise, Amar, if there is no worthy here to assume the place of his father in the highest office that exists in the hierarchy of the Kahal, the community, the congregation, the Yachad, the community. Therefore, the priesthood presidency of the ABaRaYaH, the son of ABaRaYaH, belongs rightfully to the literal descendants of the chosen seed, to whom the covenant promises have ABaRaYaH promises, or ABaRaYaH promises have been and will be made. And this same order that has always existed will exist until the end of the world. Therefore, Adam, the president of the high priesthood, in his days spread the Bashara, what they changed to gospel, with SHaTaYaH, Seth, and came to confer priesthood on Anas, ABaRaYaH, son of SHaTaYaH, Seth, when he was 134 years old. All right? So, let's see with the book of remembrance, the first and second books of Achi, which is ABaRaYaH, the brother of Jared, Yarad, say about SHaTaYaH, Seth. And it came to pass that SHaTaYaH, Seth, one day had been bathing in a river of water flowing over rocks, and the water was singing lustrous songs, and he sat in prayer, fasting before Yahyah. He sat in Tafala, fasting Siam, before Yahyah for his grief. And Azara, his wife, approached him with a mossy stone, and she said, SHaTaYaH, Seth, my husband, this stone tells the story of the first sin of our Amma, mother, and it is an account of their journey away from the garden. And SHaTaYaH, Seth, beheld a rock, and the moss had grown into shape to appear as a tree, with their mother in it partaking of the fruit. And SHaTaYaH, Seth, examined. He exclaimed, we shall keep this rock, and by it teach our children to remember what transpired with our parents, our mother and father, Amma, and Abba. And there they showed the stone to their mother, Chaya, which they changed to Eve. And SHaTaYaH, Seth, interpreted the shapes of the moss to her, and she was filled with the Karayasha, set apart spirit of deliverance. And she prophesied, saying, the stones and rocks of the earth shall be our witness before Yahyah of the great things he has done for us and all he has commanded us. And thus it shall be in all generations, in all generations. And this way Chaya, established rocks of witness between ABaRaYaH and man, and she commanded SHaTaYaH Seth to carve the stone like unto the growing of moss, so a record of remembrance, book of remembrance, could be kept among them. That will be a witness, a sign to help them to always keep the commandments of ABaRaYaH. And this way, ABaRaYaH was comforter before ABaRaYaH. So SHaTaYaH Seth began a process to intervene with his agency to establish a means of remembrance, a book of remembrance. They say it right here. And he kept what was called a book of remembrance. And he wrote that what is known as the tablets of ABaRaYaH, the authority and the knowledge of Yah. And fewer greater things have been written by men. And SHaTaYaH was a priest of the Most High, was a shepherd, a Malakiyah of Yahyah, after the order of Melchizedek. And he established human written language in the form of inspired writing. Let's bring it back. And he established human written language in the form of inspired writing. And thus were all sacred writings born. The ABaRaYaH. Let's skip down. SHaTaYaH Seth promised SHaTaYaH promised he would teach what was written to all the righteous. And ABaRaYaH spoke and gave his word that his record would be upon the earth for multiple of days, even until the end of the earth. And in this way did SHaTaYaH Seth write on stone tablets without the knowledge of words, and it was a pure and undefiled language. And it was a pure and undefiled language, that language from Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 9, that it is pleasing to ABaRaYaH, for no man knows the meaning thereof except by the gift and power of ABaRaYaH. And it says, see Malachi chapter 3, verse 16, for a reference to the book of remembrance. Malachi. See that? And thus we see what great things were done by SHaTaYaH Seth. For as a priest after the order of Melchizedek, and thus we see what great things were done by SHaTaYaH. For as a priest of Malachiah after the order of Melchizedek, he established inspired human language, Lashon, and inspired writing, and called forth the ability of ABaRaYaH to speak to all mankind through the word, the ABaRaYaH. And he established it, and he was indeed the servant of Yahyah. And SHaTaYaH was a brother to the rocks, to the stones, and he walked with ABaRaYaH, Yahyah, and he declared that the word of ABaRaYaH is written into all things. And it was in all these things that he intervened with his agency and begat the word of Yah, Salakiah. And he begat ABaRaYaH, the word of Yah, and Baraka ABaRaYaH and all his doings. Now the name SHaTaYaH means to put or to place, which is in reference to his placing characters of writing in a certain order to be language. It says it right here. Read that again, one more time. And thus we see what great things were done by SHaTaYaH Seth. For as a priest after the order of Melchizedek, he established inspired human language, Lashon, and inspired writing, and called forth the ability of ABaRaYaH to speak to all mankind through ABaRaYaH, the word of Yah. And he established it, and he was indeed the servant of Yah. And SHaTaYaH was a brother to the rocks, and he walked with Yah, and he declared what the word of Yah, ABaRaYaH, Salakiah, and he declared that the word of Yah is written into all things. And it was in all things that he intervened with his agency and beget ABaRaYaH, the word of Yah, and ABaRaYaH and all his doings. Now the name SHaTaYaH, Seth, means to put or to place, which in reference to his placing characters of writing in a certain order to be language, lashon. Now this is called Mormon Doctrine in the Apocrypha, a concordance of teachings of the Kahal Yahayasha. It's basically all the scriptures from the Book of Mormon and the second stick of Yahayasa of Joseph and the precepts to things in the Apocrypha and the so-called Bible. And this says Adamic language. The first language spoken by mortals was either the celestial tongue of the gods or such adaptation of it as was necessary to meet the limitations of mortality, and Adam and his posterity had power to speak, read, and write it. Now, this is what it is. It says, in writing of the saints, the set apart ones, in the day of the first man, SHaTaYaH, Moses says, and a book of remembrance was kept in the language of Adam, for it was given unto as many as call upon Yahayah to write by the spirit of inspiration, and by them their children were taught to read and write, having a language which was pure and undefiled. SHaTaYaH chapter 6, verse 5 to 6, Moses. And the book of Adam and Chayah, the book of Adam and Eve says, then Adam and Chayah entered the cave and stood praying in their own language, unknown to us, by which they knew well. Well, let me read you all this, right? That says unknown. That's because they didn't know. But check this. The sealed book of Ephraim. Here you go. It says, moreover, as the prophecy mentions that the serpent's offspring would endure the heel of the offspring of the promise, Abel concluded that this should be a bloodshed on the part of the designated seed. For in the original of his Edenic dialect, Lahayah, correct pronouncement to the serpent would be to bleed the heel rather than to hurt. And for this reason, Cain went unnoticed when he formulated his dogmas upon prophecy. With this in mind, Abel, proceeded to formulate doctrines based on the original context described by his father, Adam, in the Edenic language, which should be to the nation of Yasharal in the days of SHaTaYaH. Moses, the day when SHaTaYaH, Moses, described this account. So, what they mean by that is the same language that Abel had restored is the same language that SHaTaYaH, Moses, received from Yahayah, and which is the same language that ABaRaYaH, Abraham, have received. And Yabalium, Jubilees, chapter 12, verse 25 to 27. And Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 9, has said that in the end times, Yahayasha, who is Yahayah, will restore his pure, undefiled language to us, for us all to call on the name of Yahayah, who is Yahayasha. The time is now. That language is the ABaRaYaH, Lashon, Shalom.